I'm Alexis.
And I'm Tiffany, and we're the hosts of Legit KidLit, a video series where we get to see into the secret and silly lives of authors and illustrators.
We love to celebrate and promote books, but most of all, we want to say hey to all you readers out there trying to find that right book for you. We hope that you can find some new reads after today.
Hi, I am Nicole D Collier, former fourth grade teacher, but now currently the Chief Learning Officer of Personality Matters, which is a training, coaching, and consulting firm. And we really focus on leadership development and really helping teams to reach their full potential. And I am the debut author of Just Right, Jillian. And so Jillian is a super smart, super shy fifth grader who is striving to live up to her grandmother's dreams for her to really believe in herself. So when the time comes to prove herself capable and confident, she enters a school-wide competition. But as you can imagine, breaking out of her shell is easier said than done, but she finds a little bit of help in a few unexpected places. So that's me, and that's Jillian.
Hi, Nicole. Can you tell us a little bit about what a day in the life of Nicole would be like?
The day in the life of Nicole, it's a good question because none of my days look the same, but I will say they all start early. Early means 4:30 on the early side, but as late as 6 a.m. So that's when I'm sleeping in. And so when I get up, I usually, sometimes I'll journal a little bit or do something called the morning pages where it's kind of free-flowing thoughts. I always exercise at least 5 times a week, sometimes 6. And so sometimes that's running, sometimes that's kettlebells, things like that, or lifting dumbbells, that kind of thing. I'll usually do some form of meditation, fix some kind of breakfast. I like to have a green smoothie when I can, but also bagels with lox. Is something that I'm really enjoying these days all the time. And then I try to design my day. I take a look at email, see if there's any fires to put out. And if there are, I go ahead and put those out. And if not, I figure out how I want to chunk my day. I spend a lot of time kind of creating reports, sometimes having to do presentations. And so getting things in order for that is how I spend the bulk of my day. I try to go to bed early. Since I get up early, I start getting sleepy at 9 p.m. So it's tough, especially when it's winter and it's dark by 5 or 6 p.m. But I go to bed and start over. Try to fill the day with as much laughter and water as possible, and just have a general positive outlook during the day.
What is something you cannot live without?
Something that I can't live without: sunshine. I really love the sun. One of my nicknames is the sun goddess. I love the sun. And caramel. I love caramels. I was gonna say chocolate, but I think the answer is caramel. Isn't it for you? Caramels are great. The thing that made the biggest impact on my writing life, there are 2 actually. So one is my mother. She was a school librarian, and my whole childhood was surrounded by books. And so as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a children's author. And so that leads me to the second person, who is Judy Blume, because her books were the ones in which, when I read them, I was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be a person who writes these, stories about the interior lives of girls, just kind of the daily life of girls. So between the 2 of them, I always was reading, and I always was dreaming about writing and being the kind of writer that wrote the kind of books that people were always reading. So I think that's those are the 2 biggest influences for sure. So despite being a former trainer, I actually used to work with teachers and teach them how to use different types of reading software, and having to do a little bit of that in my current life. I'm a really big introvert. So when you ask what kinds of events am I looking forward to, it's like, I don't know. But the one thing that comes to mind for sure are children's book clubs. I think that would be so fun. When I taught fourth grade, my favorite thing to do was guided reading groups. So the whole class would be reading, and I would have a small group of students that I was working with and reading with. And I just really loved that, kind of those intimate conversations about books. So I think that it would be so fun and wonderful to have that opportunity to talk with kids about my book and future books, and just have those great conversations about what they're learning, what they're thinking, and who they want to be when they grow up.
What celebrity would she look up to the most?
Celebrity, that's a hard one, because her dad isn't a celebrity, but he actually is a singer and a guitar player in a band. And she loves her dad a lot, so she really looks up to him. But outside of the family, who would she say? I think Alice and Felix. So Jillian is a runner, among other things. I mean, she's multifaceted, aren't we all? She does a lot of things. But Allison Felix is someone who, ran from being a teenager all the way up to being a mom now, and had to overcome a lot of obstacles, but never gave up on her dream, even when she had to end up basically creating her own company and find a new representation when she parted ways from her big corporation after a long time. And so just the type of person who is undeterred by obstacles and who creates something where nothing was is the type of person that Jillian would really look up to and love.
What shows would Jillian be watching right now?
What kind of shows? So 3 come to mind. One is a brand new show on Netflix. It's called Karma's World. It features a young black girl who's just started middle school, so she's just a little bit older than Jillian, and she's kind of faced with regular daily middle school struggles, but she wants to be a performer. Jillian actually is a singer too. It's not a big part of the book, but it's true about her. And she's kind of dealing with different things, and she confronts different things all the time. So she sometimes doubts herself, but she's also very assertive, which is something that Jillian would like to see in other girls, and how she handles the things that come to her. So that's one. Another one is A Diary of a Future President, which is a cool show, really geared for teens and tweens, written from the perspective of a Latina who is in middle school, and later on she grows up to become the President of the United States. So we're seeing her diaries from when she was in middle school. And the last one is Jeopardy! Jillian is a big fan of trivia and just kind of knowing things. That's kind of a key part of the book. So she would love watching Jeopardy! For sure. So Jillian would say you are JTRA, just the right amount. Especially if you ever think that you are not enough or not good enough. Jillian wants you to know that you are just the right amount, just as you are. You have the right amount of courage or whatever you need in order to be successful, and you are just the right amount. So you're wonderful, just as you are. I have to say, I don't think 5th grade me would likely try out for a talent show. So Jillian is learning how to break out of her shell, and so was I. I was quite shy growing up, but I would say that 2 things that I loved to do at that time. One was write poems and kind of just write stories and just things like that, but I loved to write poetry. And the other thing was I loved pretending I was a radio announcer. I used to record myself and do all kinds of things, read everything around the house out loud. I really loved doing that. So putting the 2 things together, I think that my talent would be spoken word, if you could convince me to get in front of other people to do it.
Would you rather sing everything that you say, or dance every time you walk?
It's funny that you asked that. I sing quite a bit around the house, random things, and I dance quite a bit when I'm walking. So I'm not sure it would be or for me. I think it's and. I would probably sing everything that I said and dance. Now, this is not about how qualified I am to do either of those things. This is just about which one I'd like to do. So we're not gonna ask anyone else what they think or how they perceive all of my singing and dancing, but I like it, and I am JTRA. Well, I love the water, but I love the beach. But I really love roller coasters, despite the fact that I haven't been on one in a long time. It's a rite of passage in Georgia, in Atlanta area, to work at Six Flags over Georgia. So I worked at Six Flags for 2, maybe 3 summers, and I rode all the rides all the time. And prior to that, I had seasons pass, so I went all the time. So I think that we can safely say that roller coasters versus water parks, roller coasters are for me. Ooh. You know, I have a real problem, or I did. I used to eat ice cream like, I don't know, like it would run out if I didn't eat it fast enough. I loved ice cream. It was a real problem for a while. And so I actually stopped eating it for a lot of years. That's how much I loved ice cream. So I'm back eating it now. I don't eat it a lot, but clearly ice cream is the clear favorite over cookies. Now I love a good chocolate chip. Let's be clear, especially if it's crispy on the edges and warm with the chocolate chips. Now, but from day to day enjoyment, it's gonna be ice cream.
Soda or juice?
So there was a time in my childhood that if there was an A&W root beer around, it was mine. I was definitely going to drink that. Maybe or maybe not as part of a root beer float with some vanilla ice cream, but I definitely wanted the root beer. And I loved Fanta orange and grape. Like these are the things of my favorite memories of the summertime. We're drinking those things. And of course, growing up in Atlanta, Coca-Cola was, you drank Coke. That was just it. In fact, you went to a restaurant and you asked for Coke, and that meant all kinds of different things, but it was always a Coke. But I don't really drink any of those things now, and I never was really a big juice girl. So now it's water. I really like water. I even liked water when I was a kid, especially like outside from the hose. So I'm gonna have to go with water. Water is the answer.
Pizza or hamburgers?
I have to say pizza. And the kinds of pizza that I like has changed over the years. Now I'm really into thin crust pizza. When I was younger, I couldn't have dreamed of wanting something crispy on my, for pizza. That just didn't seem to go together. But I love pizza. And for a long time, my favorite, hands down, was pepperoni. But now I eat veggie pizza. And if you get the right combination of things, it still tastes like pepperoni. I'm not kidding. So it's all about the pizza. Pizza for me. 2 slices, please. I could do a cartwheel. I tried to do them once in a while to make sure that I am still fit enough to do one without hurting myself. When I was in elementary school, I was a little gymnast. Not competitive or anything, but even outside on the playground, I would do cartwheels and round-offs and backhand springs, and that was like a big trick to do a backhand spring, outside. I was like, ooh, type of thing. Even though I was shy, I still would do that. So anyway, I try to hold on to that little piece and do a cartwheel. I'm not gonna do one right now, but if we all close our eyes, we can all pretend that we picture a perfect cartwheel and that I was successful and that we clapped at the end when I didn't have any injuries or any pulled muscles.
Nicole, you are so wonderful. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We loved all of your answers, and we are so excited for you and for Just Right Jillian.
Whenever you see this. Thank you. Bye-bye.